So Cory, where do you see, so other than TV, so hopefully you all know, so Cory's a part of Boing Boing, right? A website, some people visit every now and again, a blog.
I read it every day.
Yeah, so if you haven't, please check out Boing Boing if you haven't heard about it. So you get to see, from a cultural, from an entertainment standpoint, from a gaming standpoint, from a toy standpoint, from anything that you and Boing Boing and the editors are interested in, you begin to get to see everything. I'm always amazed, Cory and I walked the floor yesterday, just how much stuff you have seen and how much stuff goes up on Boing Boing. So what other things, when you see the future of comics, when you see the future of games, what things are you seeing now, not just here that are interesting, but also all over the world?
For me, the most interesting thing that I see, the thing that always makes my antenna go up, is something that is exciting to a large group of people who will part with some amount of money in order to participate in it that costs almost nothing to produce. Or someone else will part with money to get them there. So for example, Randall Munroe is a lovely guy, he's a geek. He started drawing comics in his spare time. He had a 4-letter domain that didn't mean anything, XKCD, so he started putting it there. And I found one of them, which was a great one. It was pi equals, and then it was all the digits of pi. And about the 1,000th digit, he wrote, "Help, I'm a prisoner in a universe factory." And I tracked it. I found it without any attribution. And I tracked him down, and I said, "Hey, I think you made this. What's the license? Can I put it on Boing Boing? And by the way, you might put your URL in your comics from now on." And he wrote back and he said, "I heard of Boing Boing, yeah, sure." And then he wrote back like a month later and said, "Boy, I've got all these readers now who started coming back since you did Boing Boing. I've been keeping it up regularly." Randy's cost structure is essentially like nothing. Randy lives the dream. He lives with his fiance and his cousin in a house outside of Boston, his favorite city, in a living room with a ball pit. And he plays XKCD in the ball pit, or he plays Xbox in the ball pit all day. And then once a week he draws a comic. And then the rest of the week he opens checks from his t-shirts, right? And the amount of money that Randy gets from checks from his t-shirts is a lot less than Universal Features Syndicate gets for Doonesbury, because Doonesbury makes a lot of money.
God, I'm doing this all wrong.
But the amount of money, that Randy puts in his pocket from it is probably like kind of getting into the same territory that Gary Trudeau was in, especially when he was at the point of his career that Randy was in. So I'm really interested whenever I find people who are doing something that has very little institutional cost and is yet entertaining large audiences who send them money or who somehow they can make money from. Boing Boing, we've been going now for 10 years. We don't talk about our total revenue, but it's in the millions before we pay out all of our salespeople and so on. And we were never in the same room together until we've been in business for 6 years. We have one physical meeting a year, whether we need it or not. We have about 2 phone calls a year. We have virtually no administrative costs. We have 1 full-time managing editor, 1 full-time community moderator, 2 part-timers, and a couple of freelancers, and a freelance bookkeeper. And that's us, right? I mean, that's, so
you're kind of living that, so you are, in a sense, living the model that you're talking about. I mean,
right.
And I think what I like about Boing Boing, and many people do, I talk about it as a pet thing, is that it has had that effect. So what you have talked about, you guys have been doing it and managed to do it because you do it because that's how you're wired. That's really sort of
well, it's really salutary to us. But I mean, a few years ago, we would have been and were freelancers working for big magazines, which pay okay sometimes, but don't pay the way that running the thing for ourselves do. Now, on the other hand, so Wired Magazine makes a lot more money than we do, but working for Wired Magazine, we would never make as much money as we do now doing it. And so, you have a thing that can there's a saying in the newspaper industry, you go from physical dollars to digital dimes, right? So where you might get $1 per subscriber when you're selling a newspaper, you get a dime for that same subscriber from advertisers when they look at your website. And so as your subscribers move from the web from a print copy of the Times to a digital copy of the Times, your revenue goes down 90%. So the question isn't how do you get 10 times more money out of your readers, and that would be nice, I suppose. But another way to solve that problem of getting 1/10 of the revenue that you used to get is to have a business that costs 1/10 as much to run, and then you can keep the rest of the money. And so, we don't have an office, we don't have a phone, we don't have anything.
Yeah, Cory's not kidding. I did a guest blog stint for them, and I was like, I want to do this stuff on TV, and Rob, is that right? He sent me, he said, like, here's the login. And I'm like, well, okay, thanks. What do you want me to do? He's like, well, I'll do whatever. I'm like, do you want to see it? Do you want to, no, just do whatever you want.
We trust you.
Yeah, I'm like, well, how often do you want me to post? However much you want. How long should they be? However long you want. I'm like, is there anything that I need to, there's nothing, so I got a login and I went in and it was like.
Well, we're not going to run out of phosphors, right? I mean,
I know,
oh my God,
hilarious.
Craig stole all the phosphors from Boing Boing. None of us can write anything today. He killed the hard drives. So, we do have some considerations, which is like if it's more than 2 or 3 paragraphs, you put a jump in.
Oh yeah,
Apart from that,
yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah. But we have a saying in the TV industry, in the publishing, I guess you go from dollars to dimes. In TV, we go from dimes to nickels, right? When everyone says, oh my God, you must be making money hand over fist when your shows stream on Hulu and when your shows stream on iTunes. And I'm like, we're not really making money hand over fist. We're making money over the tip of my pinky a little bit sometimes. You know what I mean? It's like
cuticle over cuticle.
Leprechaun hand over fist.
But one of the things, and I wanted to get back real quick to what Cory was saying about YouTube, is it's very interesting because YouTube has just beyond massive scale. I mean, they're serving billions of videos, and their CPM is just terrible because one of the things that's really interesting is there's a certain class of advertisers who really want to be associated with certain types of content. People falling off their skateboards or on fire and stuff like that, which is the sort of prototypical, that's what everyone says in YouTube, even though there's a lot more content. But a lot of them actually don't want to be there, which is why you've seen YouTube just invest $100 million in original premium content because they want to create a whole premium channel. And so I think when premium content can catch up online to somewhere in the neighborhood, it doesn't have to be the exact, it's not apples to oranges. It's also not a zero-sum game, by the way. There's new stuff on the internet and old stuff still there. But that's the real trick, is you have to have content that advertisers want to be around, and there's definitely some people that want to be around some of the YouTube content, but the bulk of the advertisers don't, and YouTube recognizes that. So, I think we're going to see a lot more move to better quality.
But I'll predict that even the most finicky advertiser, if you could show them, it doesn't matter what content we're going to put this on, we're only going to show this to people who are likely to buy your product, whatever content they're looking at, that those advertisers would go, oh yeah, no, we don't care about like whether this is skateboards or alligators eating birds. We care about whether it's like I'm showing an ad to Craig for toothpaste at the moment that he's run out. And wherever he is at the moment that he runs out of toothpaste, I want an ad for my toothpaste there. Or the minute he's thinking about a
but
car.
you can do that now. I mean,
not very well.
There's availability, right? I mean, I go out and talk. One of the things of my job is I go out and talk to advertisers about buying online stuff. You can buy as much inventory online as you want. The web is awash in video views and what we call display ads, which are just banner ads. Fancy way to say banner ads. And they're actually trying to find, and we buy stuff by the way. We are a consumer. Sci-Fi Channel is an advertiser as well as a place for advertising. So we spend quite a lot of money every year advertising our stuff. And what you really found is it's not, right now, again, 5 years from now, the future, like we're talking about, you could see some pretty big shifts, but future. But right now, we were like, we've done it, we did it, and they're like, no, we'd rather buy a TV ad or an ad in something for now, mostly because of the sort of types of content and then the types of views and stuff like that.
So I'm gonna shift to comics, move away from TV to comics. Talk to Mr. Shooter down here. So Jim and I were walking around, which is why we were almost late, because you can't walk the floor with Jim and not get stopped by so many different people getting into sign stuff. So Jim, as we were talking, when we were walking around, I mean, could you tell everybody your first convention and when that was? And then as you sort of see things changing in the comic book industry, where do you see things going? I mean, you have been around, you have been successful. I mean, I'm a huge fan, most recently, of your reboot of Magnus Robot Fighter, Dr. Solar. Just amazing stuff if you guys haven't seen it. Very much science fiction based on science facts. Jim has an incredible scientific mind. But you also have a great blog. I mean, you have a lot of fans. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, clap. I mean, if you guys have a good blog, it is a blog, but it's much more in depth, and the stuff that he gets into is really, really fascinating. So, Jim, you've moved. You've actually continued to evolve. So, what was that first experience of that convention, and now where do you see things going?
Well, the blog is jimshooter.com.